Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we today? How was everybody's day today? I hope everybody has had a wonderful day so far. I hope everybody continues to have a wonderful day so far. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica. I'm Jessica. Welcome. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's good to see you. So, today we are going to continue with the Nicole Nachtman trial. We are on day 4, I believe. I don't know. Somewhere in there. Still hearing from the state. Nicole Nachtman, if you have not been following along, shame on you. But if you have, we've heard from her school people that say she got here on the day of the murder. Oh, okay, hold on. So, for those of you who haven't been following along and this is your first video, again, shame on you. You can go back and watch. It's like jumping into a show mid-season. I don't know how you're doing it, but anyway, I'll catch you up real fast. Nicole Nachtman, she's on trial for the unaliving of her mom and stepfather in 2015, I believe, is when she did it. August of 2015. And now she is on trial. This trial took place in August of 2019. I simply picked this trial because I was going through trials, and this just so happened to be a judge that I've seen a few times, and I liked him, so I thought I would check out his trial and see. I think he's a fair judge. I like him. So, and it just so happened that she was going to plead the insanity defense. So that's how that worked out. So far, not really sure what the defense is doing yet. It's not their case in chief just yet. Hopefully they put on some sort of case in chief. So far, we're still listening to the state talk, which is, I mean, I don't know how much you have to prove that she's there. The neighbors say that she was there. The school says she didn't check in till early that morning. So the GPS has put her traveling there. The family friend has put her there the day before. So we know she was there. And, that gives her the opportunity to do that. So I don't know. And they've done DNA and fingerprints and stuff, but again, like, it's her house. So I don't really know. I mean, they've done DNA and for blood in the kitchen and stuff, which I don't really feel like blood in the kitchen is a normal thing, but that it was proved to be the stepdad's blood in the kitchen. So there's that. So yeah. But I don't really. I'm just hoping they tie it all together in a neat little bow and say, here you go. This is what it is. We've put her here. We said this, and this is what it is. Because to be honest, it hasn't really made a whole lot of sense to me, and I'm waiting. But anyway, so that's that in a nutshell. But I picked it. I'm going to follow through with it. We're going to continue till the end. And also just want to remind everybody that I am not a legal expert and I do not specialize in any type of um, this. I don't specialize in legal anything. I am merely here to give my comments and be as judgmental as I can in my comments or critical, and just kind of talk my way through the the dull parts and sit and watch it here with you, because that's what I would be doing anyway. So I'd be sitting here talking to myself, so I might as well talk to you while I do it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. So like, subscribe, and comment. Tell your friends. Let them know. And, even if you don't like it or you don't agree with me, be sure to put that in the comments too. It's okay to disagree. I'll argue. I'll talk back. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with a healthy argument. I feel like, trials are full of arguments. That's what we do. We argue. Okay. This is retired detective. Let's hear what he has to say. Let go.
Jury's present seated, so everyone else may be seated at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, welcome back. First of all, did anyone have any contact with this case or exposure to this case or discuss this case during the break? By show of hands. All right, I'm asking another question. By show of hands. Does anybody have to get out of here before 5:30 today? By show of hands. All right, I see no hands. That's the plan then. I don't want to keep any later than that because you've been here since 9, and I know that it's a long day, but we're going to go till no later than 5:30 today. So I'll ask the state to call your next witness. Call Detective Messer. Detective Messer. Detective Messer, good afternoon and welcome. Wherever you're comfortable, if you'll face me and raise your right hand to be sworn. Thank you. Do you swear affirm any testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, Detective. You'll follow the bailiff around.
I wonder if anybody's ever just said, nah.
Then go ahead and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. That microphone doesn't adjust if you need to move it around anyway. So does the chair. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Detective Messer. If you could please tell the jury your name and spell your last name for the court reporter.
Mitchell F. Messer Jr. Last name is spelled Messer.
All right, and I know I'm still calling you detective. Are you currently employed?
No, sir, I'm retired.
All right, so should I call you Mr. Messer or can I still call you Detective Messer? I don't know what the formality.
I'll answer to either.
Okay. All right. How long ago did you
Sir, lift your chair up.
July
You look
31st,
real
2019.
short.
Prior to retirement, where were you working?
At the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been working at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
Just shy of 30 years total.
All right. And while working at the Sheriff's Office, what positions did you have?
Worked in patrol as a traffic homicide investigator. I worked undercover at times in different capacities, narcotics investigations. I was a robbery detective, an auto theft detective, property crimes detective, homicide detective, cold case, as well as regular homicide detective.
Cool.
Back in August of 2015, what position were you working in at that time?
I was working in a homicide unit, both as a homicide detective as well as a cold case investigator.
How long did you, at that point in August of 2015, had you been working as a homicide detective?
I want to say between 8 and 9 years.
Now, as a detective with a homicide unit, when you get calls, what occurs? How does that work? How do you get notified?
Well, it's day or night. You get a phone call at the house, and it's generally a supervisor that's informing you of something that has happened, and they tell you where to go.
All right. And specifically on August 20th, 2015, did you receive a call to head out to a location on Finsbury Drive?
Yes, I did.
And about what time do you recall that you received the call?
About 10 p.m.
And were you at home at the time?
Yes.
And what did you do at that point?
Got ready and drove to the location, and I got there about 11 p.m.
When you arrived, I take it since you were notified there was already law enforcement there, other officers, scene was secured?
Yes, it was.
Did when you arrived, what did you do when you first got there?
Well, I was one of the later persons to arrive on scene, and generally when we arrive at a scene like that, we all get together, all the law enforcement, especially homicide in particular, and brief one another about what's happened.
Did you in fact get briefed about what happened?
Yes.
And What, were you given any particular assignments regarding this case?
Yes, during the briefing, it was decided by my supervisors that I'd be the lead investigator in this case.
Is there any particular reason people are given the lead investigator versus other roles? How does that work? How is this assigned?
Well, it generally rotates around. Obviously, you can't always be the lead investigator. Let me back up. As a lead investigator, you're responsible for documenting or making sure that the case is documented to its entirety. Everybody has their different responsibilities, but as a lead investigator, you're, I guess, the keeper of the reports, and it's a little bit more demanding. So as a result, we at the time the sheriff's office would have a rotation for the lead investigator.
I mean, you got assigned it in this particular case.
Yes, sir.
And as the lead investigator, does part of your duties also involve telling other detectives where you need help, what they can do, and send them out on different assignments?
Yes.
What did you, upon arriving at the scene, and I know you said you got together and met with all the other detectives and other officers there. Describe, if you can, to the jury, what the scene looked like when you arrived.
It's a basic neighborhood in a cul-de-sac, and there was one residence, and the address is 14110 Finsbury. And then the next residence south of that, 14108, there was a casino in that driveway. You want me to continue?
Yeah, that's good right there. At the 14110, by the time you arrived, had they already discovered that there was a body inside that residence?
Yes.
And what, if any, information did you get about that?
Well, the sheriff's office had received 911 calls for what sounded to be gunshots. So that was the reason for the call initially. This discovering of the female in the driveway, obviously, she was determined to be deceased, and contact was made with the callers, the persons who had called 911. But then, for a well-being check, the residence at 14110 was checked, and the front door of the residence, that is, was found to be slightly ajar. I learned that the initial deputies, uniformed deputies that had arrived to the 911 call, entered the residence and searched the residence, making sure there were no injured parties inside the residence, and subsequently located a resident or bedroom on the southwest corner of the residence that was locked. It was relayed to me that there was an odor of decomposition.
I'm going to object to hearsay at this point.
I'll sustain. Ask another question.
All right. This was all relayed to you versus via a sergeant or someone at the scene who was directing things, or do you recall who actually relayed it all to you?
I don't recall exactly, no.
But basically, you were given information enough to get you caught up with what had been discovered up until this point. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
All right. And I take it by your description when you said that the female body, the body was still there, it had not been removed.
That's correct.
So after receiving all this information and basically getting caught up to speed with what was going
I
on.
mean, somebody already said that, so your objection to hearsay is pretty irrelevant.
And conducted interviews.
That's fine.
How old those residents were?
I believe it was Wesley and Elena Rowe, R-O-E, and their daughter, Elena's daughter, Elizabeth Ray,
Where did you conduct these interviews?
inside the residence.
Do you recall about what time this was that you were talking to these people?
It started, I believe, with Mr. Rowe at about 11:30 p.m. and extended past midnight. I want to say about 12:31 a.m.
Did you record all these interviews?
Yes, sir.
And did they know that?
Yes.
What did you do based upon the interviews that you conducted with them?
I had our crime scene unit go into the residence and take photographs from within the residence, looking back at 14110 to record, document, if you will, their vantage point of what they might have seen that time of the night, things of that nature.
What did you do after that?
I met with the medical examiner's doctor and entered the residence at 14110 Finsbury.
We can turn.
And did you go back to the
Speed
location
this
where
up.
the body was located?
Yes.
Did you yourself notice any odor or anything that drew your attention?
Yes.
Detective, in your course of your career as a homicide detective, I assume you've seen and smelled dead bodies before.
Yes.
And were you able to tell that the odor you smelled was that of a dead body?
Yes.
After going in there, seeing the dead body, the medical examiner, what else did you do? Were you involved in the search at all of the interior of the residence?
There was that assignment, the primary assignment was given to another detective. But I did, and again, a search warrant was being written for the residence. And when that search warrant was approved, I did participate at times when I wasn't doing other things. So I did go in the residence and a bedroom in particular and look at items.
Okay. And that's something very common for detectives to do. They work in concert with crime scene techs or crime scene investigators and go and look and see if they see something that really might be important. to
My
the crime scene
eyeballs
investigators.
twitch.
Yes.
What does that
What did you
mean?
do, after meeting with the doctor and going into the residence, when did you got out?
Well, I contacted the investigator's office with the Air Force. It was explained to me, I learned that
Objection to hearsay?
What's it saying at this point?
Did,
Come
what
on.
were you attempting to locate?
You're a police officer. You know
well,
what
attended
hearsay
identifications of
is.
Deceased individuals, the female that was in the driveway, the gentleman that was in the residence. This was established by the vehicles that were parked in the driveways. So part of the course of an investigation is you want to contact family members next to kin. So I was basically doing research in that endeavor to try to find who lived at this residence currently, along with the victims, if there was anybody currently living there, but also next to kin and trying to have
A
contact with
Mexican?
that person.
Were you able to determine whether there was anyone else living at the residence with Miriam Robert Deeds?
Yes,
And who was that person?
that was Nicole Nachtman.
And were you able to eventually determine the next of kin or someone located who you could inform of what happened?
Yes.
Right. And who was that?
It was the Lears, L-E-H-R, David Lear, and I'm trying to remember Miriam's mother's name, but they resided at 6019 Mornay Drive. But I can't remember Miss Deanna's mother's name.
For example, would Miriam Lear, does that sound familiar
I
to you?
believe she had the same first name, if I'm not mistaken.
And so did you go meet with them initially?
No, I requested one of the other homicide detectives do that.
And to your knowledge, did they go and do that?
Yes.
Now, you indicated you were aware of at this time that there was another resident of the home, you indicated Nicole Nachtman. Did you know the relationship of Nicole Nachtman to the individuals that you found deceased?
I believe I did, yes.
Okay, what was your understanding of what that relationship was?
And then Nicole was the daughter of Miriam.
At this point in time, based on what you had, and we're talking, I guess, the early morning hours or late, did you have an interest in speaking with Nicole Nachtman?
Yes.
And why did that?
Objection to relevance?
Relevance.
Point where, one of the- correct?
Yes, sir.
What efforts
Well,
were you
I
making to
think it's
locate-
pretty relevant.
Well, the interviews of the other family members, the knowledge that she was attending Florida State University. I had a phone number for her that I believe was her cell phone number.
Okay. Did you attempt to call her at that particular time of the night?
Well, I waited until about approximately 8:30 in the morning. That would be on the 21st.
Now, going to your efforts and your attempt to locate her, when you were inside the residence, did you see anything inside the residence that might have given you an indication of where she might be at that time?
There was a student housing document that was found in a room that I believe was her bedroom that was dated August the 20th at the Florida State University.
And it had her name on it?
Yes.
So,
What does it get
what
quiet all of
time
a sudden?
approximately do you recall that you attempted to contact?
I don't like
Nicole Nachtman?
that.
I want to say it was precisely at 8:26 a.m.
And did she answer when you called?
Yes.
And did you record that phone call?
Yes, I did.
Showing you with the Market States Exhibit number 62 for identification, ask if you can recognize what that is.
This is a CD recording of the controlled phone call.
Did you have a chance to listen to that?
I did.
And do you recognize that CD for any markings on it?
Yes, I initialed it and put today's date on it after reviewing it.
And does that CD, is that a fair and accurate representation of the conversation you had with Nicole Nachtman that morning, 8:26 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
Judge moved to have States Exhibit number 62 admitted into evidence.
Objection.
To be admitted.
Move publish, Your Honor.
May publish it.
What is it?
Hello?
Is this Nikki?
Yes?
Nikki, this is Detective Messer. I'm with the Sheriff's Office in Pittsburgh County. I'm Scott, actually, answering. Are you okay?
I got a call from the council.
Okay, I was just gonna tell you, I called your, spoke to your uncle and spoke to your grandmother. And I want to make sure you're okay, obviously, but I guess your uncle told you what's happening?
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, she's not doing very well. But I needed to talk to you. He had said that you had been staying at your grandmother's house. I guess,
Yeah, I do it sometimes, but I didn't tell Ashley.
are you
I stayed with her for a day or two ago.
a day or two or so?
Yeah, because I have school, this Tuesday and Monday.
Okay. Well, anyway, I can reach you up there and talk to you. I need to show some pictures to you. And it's not being done by the immediate next can. In fact, I don't have to do this before. Can you confirm your social security number with us?
Sure.
So okay, go ahead. Just want to talk to one person. But you're not driving right now. You're,
Actually, it wasn't I am.
are you? Okay. Well, that's fine. I mean, I just want you to do
I'm on campus. I don't know the area that well other than the campus.
Okay. Well, do you know your address or where you're staying?
And then under the fifth building, I want to go with the address for you. Well, because I don't really,
Okay.
the street down out here more narrow, you know, really. So that's where, you sure do you want to go that minute for a second?
Yeah, that's fine. Call me right back though, because there's,
Do you know what house this is?
no, I don't actually. Are you on campus right now, John, or?
Yeah, I want to.
I really need to get to your dorm, sit tight and then call me back, okay?
I'm good.
All right, I'll wait for.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Now, after that call ended, you had indicated to her to call you back with the dorm information. Did she call you right back with that dorm information?
No, sir.
All right. And so what was the next thing you did in this case?
Well, I eventually went to 6019 Mornay Drive and met with the family.
And how was the family?
Objection to relevance.
When did they talk to her?
I mean, I feel like it's relevant.
So when you met to meet with the leaders, were they cooperative with you?
Yes.
And did you explain to them that you were trying to locate and speak with Nicole?
Yes.
And did they agree to help you see if they could track her down for you?
Yes.
And did they in fact did one of them in fact agree to make a controlled phone call with Nicole Nachtman in an attempt to find out where she might be so that you can locate her?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 63 for identification. Ask if you can take a look at that. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, it's also a CD recording of a controlled call, and again, it has my initials and today's date on it.
All right. And did you in fact review that today?
I did.
And is that a fair and accurate recording of the controlled call that was made with the family member to Nicole Nachtman?
Yes.
And while that call was being made, were you listening to it at the time live while it was being made?
We were present in the vehicle. I'm not sure that I was actually listening to Nicole's portion of the conversation.
Did you clearly hear? Who was the individual who was assisting you?
Eric Lear, her uncle.
The uncle. All right. Judge, move to have State's Exhibit number 63 admitted into evidence.
So we admit,
Move to publish, Your Honor.
you make up.
You have an objection to the relevance of how the family is.
Hey, Nikki,
Is that you? Yeah?
did you call the detective?
Yeah, I left a voicemail with the address.
Oh, the address? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the address?
It goes 78, Chieftain Way.
Wait, 78 Chieftain Way?
Yeah,
Is that like Chief and Chieftain?
yeah.
Chieftain Way?
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
313.
Okay. Well, so you want to talk to him yet?
Oh, well, I talked to him when he called me, and when he called me first, and he called,
Right.
and I told him that I was taking my address because, you know, I punch someone else and I walk around to my room kind of thing, and, you know, so it's kind of like, I don't know yet, punch out, and I have to keep looking at Sally's address for when I was living in Sally Building, but I live in Smith Building now.
You live in Smith Building now? Hey, so you know what's going on?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, 'cause he called me back, and he said that your mom, is gone. That apparently something happened to your mom and she's passed away. Are you there, Mickey? Mickey? I'm sorry. He's making us listen to me. Are you okay?
Yeah.
He's making it sound like you were involved or something.
I was here.
Well, how long have you been there?
That week, I did.
Oh, you didn't leave on Wednesday like you told Grandma?
No, because Mom was kind of mad at Grandma.
Oh, when was the last time you were at your mom's though?
I left late on the, well, I left really late on, I think, the 19th or something.
Like Wednesday you left there?
Yeah, I got like really late.
Was it Tuesday or Wednesday, Nikki?
It was the 19th,
The 19th for sure? Or what time you left? Did you leave about?
maybe 6 or 7.
What, at night?
Yeah, I was gonna go later, but, you know, I was gonna go early, but I didn't.
Okay, did you get a plane ticket or what's going on?
I don't know, I'm gonna let the detective come.
You let him come up there?
Yeah.
Okay, are you gonna be at that address?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, you better talk to Nikki because I don't know what's going on. So, hold on, let me see if Grandma wants to talk to you. Hold on a second. Are you alone, Nikki?
Well, I'm outside.
I know, but are you alone?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because the detective told me he thinks somebody hurt your mom intentionally. Are you listening?
Yeah, I mean, Mom does have, I don't know, Mom doesn't get along with, you know, as many supposed to think.
Well, who do you think would have a reason to hurt her?
I don't know, she was having problems with people at work, she said.
Hmm.
And then, I mean, the case with Bob, you know, they're always going to his road, and,
Are you okay?
yeah, I mean, I mean, no, well, not, but,
Okay, so you sure the last time you were there was Wednesday?
yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I just want to make sure that you call him because he needs to talk to you, Nikki. You know what I'm saying?
I know, I called him left a message.
Well, I don't want to believe it, you know what I'm saying? But they're making it sound like you're involved somehow. You're not, are you, Nikki?
No,
You sure?
not sure.
You're not dating somebody or?
You know, I don't even have a boyfriend.
All right. I just want to make sure because, you know, it looks, I don't, you know, we want to help you, but, you know, you got to be straight with us at least and tell us, you know, if anything happened over there. So we left Wednesday at 6 p.m. for sure?
Yeah, 6.
And you went straight to Tallahassee or where are you?
I mean, yeah, I'm in Tallahassee.
Okay. I think you're in Brooks, you're supposed to go to school in Brooksville.
Brooksville. I don't know.
Where's your school at?
Tallahassee.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. Oh, Florida State, okay. I think you said Brooksville or Gainesville.
No, I never said Brooksville. I mean, I took long naps and stuff.
All right, well, listen, the detective told me that you haven't called him back. So you sure you called the number I gave you?
I gave you, yeah.
And you heard his name on the voicemail?
Yeah, I did.
How long ago was that message?
30 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know.
And what'd you do? Tell him just to call you at your number or what?
I gave him my number and stuff.
Okay.
I'm gonna call him again.
What, okay, Nikki, where's the number that I gave you? What's the number?
1 second. 813.
Yeah?
247.
Yeah?
86.
Hold on, let me see. Let me check the card. Hold on, I think you got the wrong number, Nikki. Okay. I don't know where you got that number, Nikki. This one, 36, okay, it's 81. Are you ready?
Ready, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah. Did you hear the guys, the detective's name on the voicemail?
313.
Yeah, 365
365.
040. Nikki, that was the number you called. Was there not a voicemail with somebody's name on there?
I think called Metro. I thought it was like the
It really
Metro.
messes you.
Okay. All right, we'll call this number because maybe I gave you the wrong number, but that's the number I got on the card. So call this number right. Hey, call him right now, Nikki, so we can put an end to this.
All right.
Okay? Okay, bye.
Okay, Detective Messer, after what number did she give on that phone call that she said she called to reach you?
That was my office number.
Did you give her your office number?
No.
Do you have any idea how she got your office number?
I did.
How's that?
I'd interviewed Eric Lair. I want to say it was earlier in the morning before the first phone call with Nicole, and I'd given him my business card. And I believe he had given her that number.
Okay.
But when Nicole called my number, she didn't give me the address that I was looking for. She left a message, but there was no address for the dorm where she was staying.
Okay. So that's why you were still trying to reach her then?
Correct.
All right. Were you eventually able to get that address for the defendant?
Yes.
And was that after this call?
Well, it was subsequent. She called me after this call, but obviously during this call, I got the address as well.
Okay. And when she called you back subsequently, you were able to get the address and verify it was the same address she gave to her uncle?
Yes, sir.
All right. What did you do with that information at this point?
Forward that information to my supervisors.
All right. And what did you decide to do from that point on?
Go up there and talk to
I was
her.
going to travel by way of the sheriff's office helicopter to Tallahassee to make contact with.
Oh, wow.
Did you have a detective accompanying you on this?
Yes,
What detective was that?
Detective Porter Latine, Portalatin.
All right, so this is still the morning hours now of, I guess, the 21st of August.
It's about 10:30 a.m. on August the 21st. Yes.
And so you now have an address and you've now spoken with Nicole. And so now you're on your way up to Tallahassee.
Yes, sir.
All right, and the sheriff's office has a helicopter that can fly that distance.
Yes, sir.
And that's how you all.
Oh, wait, we can screw it back up.
Approximately what time did you arrive at Tallahassee?
I think it was about 1 p.m.
Now, prior to going to Tallahassee, had you had communication with any law enforcement agencies up there?
Contact was made, not directly by me. Contact was made with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as well as possibly the FSU Police Department.
Because technically, once you're up there, you're out of your jurisdiction. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
So you needed the assistance of other law enforcement that were up in there that had the jurisdiction to make arrests, to authorize search warrants, that sort of thing.
Correct.
All right. So at the point you're going up there, do you know, has there been contact now made with those agencies to attempt to locate Ms. Nachtman?
Yes.
When you arrive up there, who do you meet with?
It was Florida Department of Law Enforcement Special Agent Albert Willis.
And did they advise you whether or not they had located Ms. Nachtman at that point?
Yes, literally, we were picked up at the airport where we arrived, and he had informed us that she was.
Okay, so were you aware that she had been picked up?
Yes.
And did you know where she was being held?
Yes.
You didn't even say somebody said anything.
At that time, while Ms. Nachtman was being held, did they give you all her personal items that she had?
Yes.
Did one of those items include a telephone?
Yes. Cell phone.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 42 for identification. Ask you if you can take a look at it and look inside and see if you recognize what that is.
Bet it's the cell phone.
This is the defendant's cell phone.
All right. And does that appear to be
It's a
something
banana
that you all saw
phone.
today?
Yes.
They did that State's Exhibit number 42 of the evidence. Publish your own. And this appears to be the battery out of it on the outside here, but that's the phone right there.
Yes, sir.
This is the front of it.
Yes.
Sure. If that was the back of it, you flipped it over. That's the front of it.
Aside from obtaining her personal items being the phone and you said laptop, is that right? Or,
Yes.
what other efforts were being done by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and FSU Police in obtaining evidence in this case?
3 different search warrants were being written.
Okay. And what were the search warrants of?
One was of her dorm, Nicole Nachtman's dorm. One was of her person to sample of her DNA. And one was of her vehicle.
Okay, and were those search warrants eventually executed?
Yes.
Now, were you involved in the search of the dorm room?
No, sir.
What'd you find? What'd you find?
It was Detective Porter Latine and I believe FDLE agents.
How about the search of the vehicle? Were you involved in that search?
Yes, sir.
Showing you what a State's Exhibit to 22A3Y.
Did I object to the admission of the
Move them in.
Yes, sir, to move them in.
They'll be admitted.
22A3Y. Now, Detective, you had a chance to review these pictures earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this, I'm showing you what's marked as 22A. Is this in fact the vehicle that you searched while you were up there?
Yes, sir.
It's the front, picture of the front, and then 22B,
Yes.
22C. These are all just pictures from around the exterior of the vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
22D.
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's pictures of a car.
That's the
Why do we have to see pictures of the car?
vanity license plate that was on the vehicle of this car,
Yes, sir.
and that was registered. Do you all know whose name this was registered in?
I believe it was in Miriam's, Deanna's name.
And 22F is another picture of the exterior.
Yes.
22G. 22H. And we have 22I. This is the interior of the front of the passenger compartment, the driver's compartment.
The driver's side, yes, sir.
And 22J. 22K. What are we looking at in this particular picture?
The Garmin unit in the center console underneath the radio.
And what is that unit? Do you know what that unit's for?
It's
GPS.
designed to give directions.
So it's a GPS unit?
Yes.
22L. What are these things up here?
The garage door openers.
22M would be the back seat.
Yes.
22N is more of the dashboard.
Yes,
22O,
it's the back hatch area.
and everything that we see in these pictures were all there in that condition when you all opened up the car.
Yes.
22P,
Yes,
I don't know if you can see what those are. What are those things on the?
these are lottery tickets.
She thinks she was gonna get lucky.
Center console.
You know, for somebody that is messy, her car is cleaner than mine.
This was the contents of the center console, I believe. Should be in the bottom corner of the description written down. Bottom lower left. Contents from center console.
Is that toothpaste?
22S,
And that was from the items from the front passenger seat and floorboard.
22T,
As it says
The
in the
hell?
lower corner, items from the glove box.
in particular, one of those items you took a picture of. What was this?
Nicole Nachtman's driver's license.
And then 22V, so it says driver's seat back
Excuse
pocket.
me.
Said police paperwork is in my pocket.
Yes.
That's a school.
And 22W, passenger rear floorboard.
Yes.
22X, it also says passenger rear floorboard.
Yes.
How were these items contained in the passenger rear floorboard?
I believe that was all that clothing was in that garbage bag.
And 22Y, so just more things from the hatchback. Or
Back hatch area.
Hey, at least heard
Where was the search of this
bunches
vehicle?
of clothes are in a trash bag. Mine is just thrown in there.
In like a
That's where
garage
my-
type environment.
Daughter thinks the back seat of my car is a closet.
Approximately what time it was searched?
It says about 9:30 p.m. And then this is on August 21st.
She just throws all her
It's been
stuff
marked
back there.
47. It's already been opened, but ask if you can take a look in there and see if you can identify what that is.
This is the Garmin GPS unit that was in the center console.
Right. And does it appear to be the same, substantially same condition as when you found it on that day?
Yes.
All right, Judge Booth, that's case exhibit number 47, limited evidence. Public comment?
Fantastic. If you haven't seen one before, there's the GPS system. But why wouldn't you just use your phone? Did they have the
Did you
GPS
eventually,
back in the
take that GPS
2015?
and provide it to FDLE to download the information from it?
Yes.
They had to have.
Now, while you were up in Tallahassee, was
I was driving in
that comes from the
2015. I
identifier-
don't think I've ever driven without
Yes.
GPS, for real.
Based on that information, the totality of circumstances, did you authorize an arrest of Nicole Nachtman up there?
I mean, a
Yes.
long, long time ago.
Were you in fact the one who told her she was under arrest?
Yes.
When do you think it was you eventually got back to Tampa?
Sometime I believe after midnight.
So what was, after you returned, I'm assuming you probably went to bed for a little while.
Yes.
But after you returned, what was the next thing you did as far as investigation in this case?
I believe I authored another search warrant for a download, as we refer to it, of the cell phone of Nicole Nachtman.
And about how quickly do you get those cell phone records back?
It could take a few months.
What happened when you eventually got the cell phone records?
If I can also expand on that, also extended, I did another search warrant for the tolls and records from the phone. There's one search warrant for the phone company, there's another for the device itself. So there's two search warrants written for the phone.
Now the search warrant for the phone for the device itself, what are you trying to find out from that?
Well, the device itself would have memory of internet searches, stored data, obtained internet searches, text messages, emails, things of that nature.
And from the phone company, what are you trying to obtain from that?
Dates, times of telephone calls, and then a general area by way of GPS or cell site location.
And explain to the jury, if you can, how that works.
Whenever a cell phone, a phone call is placed from a cell phone, obviously a cell phone that is has to communicate with the network. So it reaches out to the nearest cell tower to make contact, and it records that cell tower as contact.
Now, when you received the records back from the cell phone company, were you able to determine dates and times and potential locations of where Ms. Nachtman was during that day, or at least where the cell phone was during that day, or during those days?
At least the tower that the cell phone accessed, yes.
And on August 20th, the date that Ms. Nachtman told you and her uncle that she was in Tallahassee, where in fact was her cell phone pinging off of? What tower?
I'd have to put the records to be exact, but cell tower is consistent with the residence or the neighborhood of the residence.
And did you in fact go out and physically locate that cell tower and see that cell tower?
There was 2 different cell towers that I located, yes.
And were those cell towers in relatively close proximity to the home?
Yes.
Sit. Sit.
And going back to the Garmin, were you able to determine times and locations of where that vehicle or the Garmin in that vehicle was located during the time period extending from around the time of these murders?
Yes.
And did those time periods and locations generally correspond with the information you received from the cell towers?
Yes.
Now, specifically, with a specific time period, there was a around the time of the murder. Where was the GPS? This is the murder of Miriam Deans. Where was the GPS showing that it was located during that time period?
It was in a neighborhood north of the Dean's residence.
If I show you a map of the area, would you be able to orient yourself on it?
Yes.
Showing what's previously been introduced into evidence is State's Exhibit number 67. Now, the location down here, 14110 Fensbury Drive, what is that location?
That is the scene of the homicide.
And this home up here, 15902 Country Brook Street, do you know what the location that is?
I'm trying to remember his name, but it's Nicole Nachtman's cousin's residence.
David Lair, would that be familiar?
Yes, it is.
Right. And when, during the course of the murder, based on the GPS proximities, where's this location located? Where's that?
That's a side street, Fox Hunt, and I believe Hound's Tooth or something like that. But that is the location where the GPS from the Garmin unit was located prior to the homicide.
Prior to the homicide and just after the homicide, would that be accurate?
Yes.
Right. And just after the homicide, that GPS starts from there and starts heading up to Tallahassee. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Based on your recollection of the download?
Yes.
So that's where she parked. That's where she took off afterwards.
Now, were you able to review the contents of the download from the cell phone? Did those records ever come in?
Yes.
And did you learn anything, and I'm going to say learn anything specifically regarding a Yahoo account belonging to a Robert Deans?
Yes.
What did you learn from those records regarding that account?
Well, from the download of the cell phone belonging to Nicole Nachtman, again, I mentioned that among records contained within the phone, it included internet searches, and there was an internet search conducted on the phone that had to reset a Yahoo email password.
Did Ms. Nachtman have a Yahoo email account?
Not that I was aware of.
Nope.
And did Mr. Deans have a Yahoo email account?
Yes.
And did the records actually show or indicate that an email had been forwarded to her phone from that Yahoo email account belonging to Mr. Deans?
Yes.
And was this just prior to the murder of Miriam Deans?
Yes.
Doesn't sound crazy to me.
Well, I mentioned that to you earlier that you received information from the defendant's brother. Do you recall his name?
It was Joseph.
Carey?
Carey,
Okay,
yes,
Joseph
thank
Carey. All right. Did you in fact ever talk with Joseph Carey?
Yes.
And did you report the statement you got from him?
Yes.
At one point in the course of this investigation, a fingerprint was located on a hallway wall. And in fact, I know you weren't the crime scene detective, but in fact, that piece of drywall was cut out and provided to your agency, correct?
Yes.
Right. And it was packaged in a box like this, correct?
Yes.
Right. And that, in fact, is the drywall cutting contained in this case.
That's correct.
Judge, if I could, I'd like to publish this. I have not had a chance to publish it yet, so.
Okay, so one for the defense needs to read the digits to see if you're welcome.
So,
Stupid. Oh, look, it's a piece of drywall with some fingerprints from Nicole's, from her house.
You indicated that you were assigned the lead detective by a supervisor, correct?
Yes.
And I think you testified on direct that obviously you all work as a unit. Detective Thomas was assigned the scene, various detectives assisted, but ultimately you're responsible to make sure that all the reports are documented and everything gets done as it should during a homicide investigation, correct?
Yes.
Now, you indicated you got the phone call on the 20th of August about 10, but you didn't arrive to the scene until about 11.
That's correct.
And at that time, you observed Mrs. Deans, the decedent, in the driveway. Her body was still there.
Of the 14108 address, yes.
Now, you had indicated that prior to your arrival, obviously law enforcement had made entry into the Dean's residence at 14108, and that the information you had was that,
14110.
I'm sorry, 14110. And the information you had is that the front door was slightly ajar when they initially went to go in and basically do a welfare check. Is that correct?
Yes.
Obviously, all that had been done prior to your arrival, but the front door, as you understood it, to the Dean's residence was left ajar when law
Yes.
enforcement got there. You indicated you first interviewed the Rose, who were the neighbors at 14108,
Yes,
and that was about 11:30 in the evening.
yes,
You in fact indicated you had crime scene technicians take photographs from inside their residence, kind of to capture their vantage point into the dean's residence.
in the direction of the Deanna's residence, yes.
Did you also notice, or was it brought to your attention, that a bedroom window that faced the Rose residence at the dean's residence was left open as well?
I don't recall if it was left open. Do you like me to comment on what I was told during the interviews?
No, but I can show you some photographs as to how crime scene captured it, and if that tells you it was open when they got there, would that accurately depict
That
how
might
crime
be
scene?
the best account, yes.
I'm going to show you what's been introduced as States Exhibit 21A through D. Does that appear to be the bedroom window that faces the Rose house, if you remember?
Yes, I believe it is.
21B?
Oh
Your
no.
experience in dealing with these types of scenes is crime scene is going to take photographs of how they find things.
Yes,
Typically, it wasn't altered or changed or open prior to crime scene getting there and photographing it, correct?
that's correct.
Now, at some point, I believe it was kind of now into the next morning, you're attempting to make contact with Miriam Deans' family, whose mother also happens to be named Miriam.
Yes,
And I believe on direct, you had indicated when you went to that Mornay address where Mrs. Dean's mother, Nicole's grandmother, lived, you had mentioned David. Did you mean to say Eric and Miriam were there? Because David doesn't live at that
I meant to
residence.
say Eric.
Okay.
I said David, yes.
So I just want to clarify, it was Eric who was at his mother's home, who is also Nicole's uncle, and the grandmother when you made contact.
Yes, just as a point of clarification, initially I did not respond to this location. Another detective did. It wasn't until later that next morning that I went to that location.
So still staying within the evening hours of August 20th, other detectives had made contact at that residence, but you had learned that in fact, family had been located of Miss Dean's.
I think it was actually the early morning hours of the 21st at that point when another detective went to the family's residence on Moorhead.
And then while that's happening, you're obviously doing your work as the lead detective, and then Detective Thomas is already beginning to document the scene with crime scene technicians, both inside and outside of the residence.
Correct.
And ultimately, while you indicated earlier this is a team effort, Detective Thomas would have made the observations and ensured that crime scene technicians documented and did everything needed to be done with the scene.
Yes,
You had indicated that at some point you had made entry or made some observations of a bedroom that was later determined to belong to Miss Nachtman, correct?
yes,
And there was in fact a dorm receipt that was dated August 20th, somewhere located within that room.
yes.
So now moving into the early morning hours of the 21st is when you attempt to make your first attempt to locate Miss Nachtman. Is that correct?
Attempt to locate or make contact.
Make contact via phone call, the phone call we heard earlier.
That was at 8:26 that morning, yes.
Now, when you initially call her, from what we heard on the recording, she answers, correct?
Yes,
And the discussion about her mom being in the hospital, the way it's relayed to you by Miss Nachtman is her family had already contacted her and told her that.
yes.
So that didn't come from her, that actually came from the family.
I believe so, yes. It did come from me.
She tells you that she's in Tallahassee,
Yes,
which ultimately you learn via GPS and later when you get there that that's in fact a true statement. Or she's close to Tallahassee.
she's not quite in Tallahassee. That's probably.
So she's getting there because you have the check-in of when she checks into housing, which I think is shortly after 9 in the morning. Is that your recollection?
On my GPS records as well, she's not in Tallahassee as of yet at that time.
Close.
East of, yes.
Now, she tells you also during that first phone call that the hall or her dorm room is actually good at Smith Hall.
Yes,
And that in fact turns out to be correct.
yes.
However, because she either hasn't checked in yet or is just checking into this dorm, doesn't particularly know the exact address at that moment.
That's my assumption, yes.
She in fact offers to Google the address for you.
She mentions that, yes.
Then there appears to have been a discussion possibly between Nicole and her uncle Eric at some point, and you also record that phone call as well.
That's later, about 10 a.m. that morning, yes.
Now, this discussion about her calling you back and you never getting the phone call, you actually get back to the office later on that day and learn she had actually left you a voicemail on your office phone.
Well, when I did the control call with her uncle, and it was mentioned at that time, I remotely checked my voicemail, and I found that she had in fact called my office number.
Okay. And had actually left you a voicemail.
Yes,
Which he said that. So bravo.
And in fact, during the phone call with her uncle, you had indicated you got the address at that time because you're obviously listening to this phone call, correct? And it was in fact the
Jesus.
correct address to Smith Hall?
Yes,
He's already said
Now,
all of
ultimately,
this.
you all, and again, I know you're utilizing the help of Florida Department of Law Enforcement in Tallahassee, FSUPD.
And
You
this,
all are
none of
ultimately
this
able
is
to
helping you.
obtain information that she in fact checked into her dorm that morning at Smith Hall via this check-in process and people who had checked her in at the dorm.
actually, we had made a call. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office had contacted admissions at FSU prior to me doing the control phone call. That was about 8 a.m. I believe when they opened and learned that she had in fact checked in, or at least secured a dorm room, I should say.
Now, you had indicated after contact is made and you're able to confirm that Ms. Nachtman is in Tallahassee, as she stated, you all attempt to make plans to fly there, you and Detective Portalatine, and arrive in Tallahassee somewhere around 1
She
p.m.
was not in Tallahassee when he talked to her.
Now, when you
Stop
arrive
saying
with
that.
Detective Portalatine to the Florida State Police Department, is Ms. Nachtman already there, or is your recollection that she comes shortly after?
I believe she was already there. I don't remember waiting a long period of time. I'm not sure if she was there waiting when we walked through the door, but it wasn't long.
And she's actually in one of their interview rooms that happens to all video and audio record.
Yes, eventually. I'm not sure again if she's already there waiting on us. It seemed like she was outside. And we all entered the room together.
When you and Detective Portalatine make contact with Ms. Nachtman, are you wearing anything with the Sheriff's Office insignia on it to identify yourself or make it clearly visible that you're law enforcement?
I believe I at the very least had a badge displayed.
Same with Portalatine.
I believe so, yes.
And in fact, based on your phone conversations you had already had with Ms. Nachtman in identifying your name, Detective Messer, she knew you were at least a detective with the Sheriff's Office, if not a homicide detective, there to talk to her.
Correct.
She's also obviously at a police station, not being the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, but she's at the Florida State Police Department.
That's correct.
Now, this audio or video recording of Ms. Nachtman at the Florida State Police Department, you viewed it, correct?
Yes.
And it's several hours long.
Yes.
However, when she's initially, or when you initially walk in and obviously introduce yourselves, it's not too long after entering the room where Ms. Nachtman starts discussing the Snow Queen with you. Is that your recollection?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
And again, you later learn the Snow Queen is from Frozen or the Disney movie Frozen, and it's the Princess Elsa.
Yes.
Fantastic.
At some
Because they
point during
probably
that initial
asked her what
contact with Ms. Nachtman
she's
during
interested
her
in.
Recitation of the story about the Snow Queen and Elsa, you actually take a moment and tell her, you know your mom's dead, right?
Yes.
So you're actually almost trying to see if in fact she understands the situation she's found herself in.
Well, I'm not sure, other than I'd never got to that point. I'm not sure why I said it, other than because, there'd been mentioned that she was in the hospital. The mother that is had been in the hospital. She'd been in an accident. And I just wanted her to hear from me. I didn't know exactly what she'd been told.
You're clearly observing that her reaction to the situation is not a normal reaction, which is why you asked her that question. Isn't that true?
Possibly.
Everybody
I didn't see or
reacts
understand the
differently.
relevance of the story that she was telling me. That's for certain.
And in fact, that she's not realizing the seriousness of the situation.
I don't know that I'd say that.
Do you recall giving a deposition in this case, Detective?
I did.
That deposition was back in October of 2018. Yes?
Yes.
I was there under oath asking questions about this very topic.
Okay.
I'm on page 55, counsel.
Oh, I'm
You recall me
sure
asking you the
it's
question,
going to
clearly
impeach
you see
him.
something wrong with her reaction to this whole situation. I'm assuming, so you were asking her. And your answer, no, you're probably right. My question, your mom's dead, right? You know? Answer, yeah, your mom's dead. Is that your recollection? That maybe she's not realizing the seriousness of the situation.
Okay. I would agree with that statement.
And you'd agree that Elsa and Frozen are clearly not appropriate topics to have been discussing while you're attempting to speak to her about the death of her mom and stepdad.
Stepdad.
Yes.
As far as her appearance,
I mean-
she was wearing old shoes, you recall?
Yes.
Apparently that looked like they probably needed to be replaced.
Yes.
A black cloak looking thing around her as you described it previously.
Yes.
And you could detect body odor.
Seem to recall. Yes.
Now, at some point, and we see in the interview, you leave the room and Detective Portalatine remains with her there for several hours while you're authoring search warrants and doing other things pertinent to the investigation, correct?
Yes.
You had indicated a moment ago that you did not participate in the search of her room. Is that right?
The dorm. That's correct.
Now, Mr. Terry asked you about the GPS that you eventually obtained from her vehicle and you have analyzed or downloaded. Is that right?
Yes.
And your review of that data or that information does not indicate that Ms. Nachtman left after the death of
Stop
Bob, correct?
pushing me.
Or Mr. Deans. Left meaning Tallahassee and then came back to Tampa.
No.
That is not reflected in any of the record, cell tower information, or GPS that you reviewed.
Correct.
How does that help you?
I want to show you portions of the cell phone extraction report that is in evidence, and it's State Exhibit 70. You reviewed this data or these downloads that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement conducted, correct?
On the cell phone?
Yes.
Yes.
For the record, it's State's Exhibit 70, page 335. Can you see that? The top, I'm going to refer to the message, the content of the message at the very top on the right-hand side. Can you
Yes.
read that?
Yes.
Can you read that for the jury?
Yes. You need to weigh yourself to get an idea where you're at. At 5 feet, you should be 100 pounds. Add 5 pounds for every 1 inch after that. Give up to determine your height.
And that appears, if you look to the left-hand column all the way down, that appears to be a text of some sort from Miriam Deans. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now I'm going to refer you to page 334 of that same extraction report. Are you able to read that, Detective, or do you need a bigger?
No, that's fine. What?
The
portion?
third box, third, fourth, and fifth box, beginning at want to make sure you go back to school looking good.
Beginning of that and continuing?
Yes, sir. The next three entries.
Okay. She replies, okay. And then Miriam sends, you are 61 inches. Your weight should be the max 105 pounds. Keep that in mind. No meals after 7 p.m. Start alternating days with salad one day and a meat the other day. Stay away from breads. And she, Nicole replies, okay.
I dare you to tell me what to eat. Clearly. Do you want to go lay down?
You had indicated a moment ago that, as we've stated already, that obviously law enforcement and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement up in Tallahassee and FSUPD are assisting you with the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
I want to show you what I'll mark as Defense Exhibit 1L, 1M, 1N, as in Nancy, and 10. If I can approach, Judge.
So far, you have shown that mom is controlling of.
Yes, Judge. Defense Exhibit 1A through K are
Daughter's
photos.
weight.
I'm now going to start continuing with photos 1M through O.
Do you have any
Detective, I have
more?
FDLE property receipt if that helps you refresh your memory as to what those are. You need to take a look at those and tell me if those are items of evidence that Agent Willis with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement assisted in obtaining as far as belongings of Ms. Nachtman as it relates to this case.
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I'd introduce Defense Exhibits 1M through O.
They'll be admitted.
So these were items of evidence that Florida Department of Law Enforcement assisted the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in collecting as far as belonging to Ms. Nachtman.
Yes.
Apparently, I don't
What
know.
are they?
So it's Defense Exhibit 1L through 1M.
All right,
I apologize.
All right.
Let me show you defense. So that just. is
Lady,
kind of
get
the
your
data
shit
that
together.
Willis kind of collected these various items. Is that correct?
Yes.
1M. And then when N is in Nancy, there appears to be like a children's frozen book.
Yes.
And then 1O is the back of that children's frozen book.
Yes.
Just if I can have a moment.
Absolutely.
Should I have any other questions? Thank you. Detective Messer.
Redirect.
Yes, ma'am. Detective Messer, Mr. Sim-
I'm sorry. I just want to put everything back in my.
okay, sure.
You said you were done. Sit down.
Detective, Mr. Silvergara asked you about when you were in that interview room with Ms. Nachtman, and she continued on with discussing the Snow Queen or the Ice Princess or whatever, and you told her your mom's dead, right? And you know that, and you're informing her of that.
Yes.
Now, isn't it true that right after that, and this was after Ms. Nachtman had invoked her rights to an attorney, correct?
Yes.
All right. So at this point, you knew you could not speak with her directly about the murders without an attorney present. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
And so after you said your mom's dead, right, and she said something to the effect of, I'm trying to distract myself right now. I just don't really want to talk about it. Do you recall her saying that, or words to that effect?
Yes.
And so you knew and she knew that you all could not talk about the murder at that point. Would that be right?
I'm going to object to leading.
I'll sustain rephrase.
Could you ask her any questions at this point about the homicide?
No, I mean, it wouldn't be admissible.
And when you read her, did you read her Miranda rights, or did you even get a chance to go through it?
I did not.
Okay, what happened?
Well, again, the room is equipped with the video camera, and as a secondary feature, I would oftentimes have an audio recorder with me. So when contact was initially made, with Ms. Nachtman, I began to express my desire to record the conversation and would start proceeding with advising her of her Miranda warning. And that's when she told me she didn't want to speak without an attorney.
And so it wouldn't be uncommon
Damn.
then if you have a suspect in custody who is not wanting to talk about the homicide, that you're there for them to be talking about things other than the homicide.
That's correct.
Maybe where they go
You
fishing,
see.
if they like fishing, or so in situations like that where you all have a suspect in custody who's invoked the rights, it's not uncommon to talk about things that are interesting for the other individual, just to kind of pass the time while you're sitting there, so you're not just staring at each other.
That's correct.
What'd I say?
Going back to exhibit number 70,
I'm so smart.
I believe when you look at these, and I'm going to go specifically to page 334 or 421 that you were referring to earlier.
There's no rule
you kind of read them in
against
backwards order.
sitting
You
there
read
and
them
having a
down top to bottom, but
conversation.
If you look at the timing of these,
Let them
it shows inbox 111.
jibber
This
jabber.
one sent at 112. This one's 113. This one's sent at 114. So in fact, these text messages go in reverse order, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So let's start. Let's go ahead and read those next, and then read the fourth one there. So read the next those four.
You are 61 inches. Your weight should be the max 105 pounds. Keep that in mind. No meals after 7 p.m. Start alternating days with salad one day and a meat the other day. Stay away from breads. Okay.
And what does Ms. Deans respond back?
Miriam replies to Nicole, want to make sure you go back to school looking good.
Okay. And then what does Nicole Nachtman respond?
Yeah. And then I guess a face.
And like a face sticking its tongue out, right?
Yes.
So that was her response to her mother about wanting to make sure you look good. She's like, yeah, stick your tongue out.
Yes.
Doesn't seem like somebody that's scared of their mommy.
All right. Move for the
Maybe with the excuse, I would say.
yes, you may judge.
And
I guess subject to
subject to recall. All right. You may step down, detective, but no need to remain outside today, but you are subject to recall. See, I'm gonna go ahead. I know that it's 5:15. I said 5:30. I know we'll only get 15 minutes into the next witness, but I'm gonna go ahead and actually call you next witness.
You are. Can we go for
Yes. Yes. Discussion with the attorneys. I am going to send you home for the day, but I don't want you to be concerned. The state has indicated to me that there is only one more witness from the state who will testify tomorrow morning, and then when that witness is over, they are going to rest. We'll obviously have a break then, but we'll get to the defense case tomorrow. So we are on track, so I don't want you to be concerned. I am going to let you send you home for the day. I'm going to remind you not to discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Also not to do any research related to the case, and finally, to avoid any exposure to this case outside of the courtroom. Please have a nice evening. We will start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll rise to the church.
Well, then what's the last 20 minutes of this?
Everyone may be seated. All right, as we discussed at the bench, we're still going to keep working so that we can do some stuff now that we don't have to do tomorrow morning and make up for any time that we may be
We
missing
get some
by
judge
not continuing
time.
today. So, what can we take care of now?
Judge, I believe the court still needs to rule on the defense proposed exhibits that the state rendered objections to. Specifically, if you have my exhibit.
I do.
I believe they were objecting to, well, I limited the photographs and it's now going to be, I'm sorry, exhibit number 11, but on my list it's number 2. Defendant's photographs with Mr. Ronald Nachtman. I have reduced the photos and taken them out of the collage form, which the court and the state want to look at. There's 4 total, and they're single. You indicated.
Let me show them to them, and then in light of my preliminary ruling, do you have any objections to those 4? I don't expect you to waive any objections.
Judge, other than they're cumulative, it's basically the same, almost the same identical 4 photos of her with her father. I mean, maybe in different locations, but it's almost identical. I can show it to you.
Yeah, let me see.
I think they're just cumulative. I think 1, maybe 2.
Why aren't
suffice.
they cumulative?
They're just 4 depicting him, and he's the caretaker of her at that age, and like I said, we have. the
What
collage
is with
of
your
images
skirt,
that
lady?
before that appear to be in different locations and at different times.
I am just confused. Is that part of the skirt?
All right, looking at them, they some of
Is
them
that
do
an
appear to be
added
different times, except these two
accessory?
appear to be almost identical ages. I mean, different
Like,
times,
does
I mean,
she
in
have a
growth. So pick one of these
flap
two and you get 3.
in the back of her skirt?
These 2 are fine. And that's
I
based
don't
on
understand.
cumulative. I'll allow you 3, particularly since I think 2 of them. There's really
Oh,
no
it's a
difference because the age of the photograph is,
dress.
appears to be close.
Okay.
Okay, Judge, for the record, I'm gonna mark these as 11.
Well, it looks
A, B,
dumb.
and C, and I will take out these ones.
You take out the
Now
black
that I
and
have seen it all, it looks dumb. You
allow
should
it to
not
be
have that
photographs
jacket
for
over it.
Judge, I believe the next objection were number 3, which I believe the court's ruling on that was that
What was it?
as long as they were photos of Miss Nachtman with her brother Joey, and we picked 2. And not by herself. That was the court's initial. Joey and the brother, his friend. He's holding a computer with his friend. But Joey's holding it.
That's fine. I don't know.
So I'll mark those as 3A and B. And then I believe the next objection was the entire the document from the family court file.
Family court file, yes. I've reviewed those, and actually, let's go ahead and talk about 4 or 5. 5 is defendant school records from the Air Academy, and 10 is Department of Children and Families intake report dated September 30th, 1998. I have those here, and I wrote on the exhibit list, the state's objections were essentially relevant hearsay, and prejudicial value outweighed probative value. Is that a correct recollection or statement?
Correct, Judge. And as the court stated, expert testimony is not supposed to be a conduit to hearsay. In this particular case, we have no objection to the and I guess the purpose of it, according to the defense counsel, is to show, that they had records that they relied on. We have no objection to them stating, the doctor stating what records they relied on and what specific points they pulled out of those records to say that they relied on it and make an informed opinion. However, to introduce all these records just at one fell swoop is not really fair to the state, and it puts in a lot of prejudicial stuff, which is all hearsay. So we would object for those grounds.
Well, I mean, I want to address that statement that it's all hearsay. I'm trying to find a marked one of the Air Academy records. Unfortunately, I don't have them numbered separately. Yeah, okay, that's the family court file. It's one of the.
Man, what you doing on your phone there?
It's one, and I'm just using this as an example. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This is Air Academy, Judge?
Yes, 9, 10. It's approximately 11 pages in. It's an email. And it's one of several emails. But in this email, it is an email from Cardenas to K.
Is she playing a game?
And John Fitzgerald. Anthony White and somebody Clund, C-L-U-N-D, are copied. And the subject is Nicole Nachtman and L. Roberts. And my recollection in reading through these, a lot of these appear to be teachers and or the major in charge of the academy and a counselor that seem to be emailing back and forth. Seems to be the theme between some,
She's playing
all
a
of
game
them.
on her
This
phone in the
particular
middle of the
says, "Nicole came
courtroom.
to me this morning, first period. She was crying and very upset. She confided that Lazaria, parentheses, Zoe, has been harassing her. According to Nicole, Zoe tells her that she is weird, that all the other girls hate her, don't want to be her friend, and that the other students laugh at since she is so strange. I asked Nicole if she had gone to her TAC or anybody with this, and she said no, that she didn't want anyone talking to Zoe and then be labeled a tattletale. As I said, Nicole was beyond herself. Under other circumstances, I probably wouldn't bring this up to you at all, or up to all of you. I apologize. However, between sobs, Nicole said that she just wanted to kill her. Then she added that she just wanted to kill everybody that was making fun and laughing at her. She concluded to repeatedly say between her sobs that she was going to snap. Now, you can't possibly be contending that they're offering this document to prove that she was going to kill Zoe or kill everyone. So unless you are, it's not hearsay, correct?
But it is hearsay. We have no way to cross-examine people.
Time out. Let's go to the definition of hearsay. Tell me the definition of hearsay.
It's not made by declarant.
That's your understanding of the definition of hearsay? We got a problem.
What is it, Judge? I mean, I'm telling you what I hear.
An out-of-court statement, that's number one, being offered to prove
The truth of the matter asserted. I don't.
Okay, so the state's position is that the defense is offering the statement to prove that Nicole was going to kill Zoe and everybody.
Judge, the position is that it's not that it's being offered to prove that she was going to kill somebody, it's being offered to prove that she was in a mental state that she was going to snap. Because
Okay, but the
even if this was
definition
going on,
is truth of the matter asserted.
totally agree, and the matter asserted of this is that Nicole Nachtman was going to snap.
Well, that may be the last one, but there's also, so I mean, technically we'd have to go through, well, some of the statement might be hearsay and some of it not.
But Judge, I understand that, but still, the whole point of this email is clear. It was that Nicole Nachtman was going to snap. And that's the whole point of it. The last line, I don't know if Nicole was being overdramatic or if in fact she was, quote, ready to snap. That is the whole subject and the whole idea of this email. But this goes back to one of the points that I made when we argued this last week, Judge, that the problem with introducing documents, there's nothing wrong with the expert saying, I reviewed multiple documents from the Air Academy and it showed Nicole was suffering with some severe issues. She was being bullied, kids didn't like her, she was going through things. There's nothing wrong with the expert saying that. But to give this back to the
I'm
jury
super
and then
distracted by
stand
this
over
lady
them and
playing
say,
a game
"That's
on
not
her
true,
phone."
but that's true. That's not being offered to be true, but that's being offered to be true. There's no way to do that. And by introducing these records, that's essentially what you're saying we would have to do. We would have to go back there and sit there and say, we don't think this is being offered. We don't know. They can't even say if that really is true. And that's the problem with it, which is why its prejudicial effect far outweighs the probative value, which can be accomplished
by the experts testifying.
All right, but those are two different issues. Prejudicial effect is different than whether it's hearsay or not.
I agree
Right.
with you, and I'm saying that I think that it is hearsay, because I think that the truth that it's trying to convey is that Nicole Nachtman was ready to snap. And they are offering it for that purpose.
Let me hear the response from the defense related to this. And again, this is, I picked this out as an example that applies to all three of the records.
Judge, our intent in introducing these records, as I stated earlier, one, all the time attorneys say that, there is no corroborative data or this is self-reports by the defendant. But more importantly, our experts are going to rely on these records to show that, in fact, she was experiencing bullying as part of the mental state that was deteriorating, that schools are trying to report this to the mom, and the evidence will show that we believe that there were no interventions done. So there was no response, and it's really effect on Miriam Beans, effect on those. So she's getting these emails and she's doing nothing. And so our position is going to be that they go to corroborate the bullying, they go to corroborate
Yeah,
mental
ma'am.
state
There's a
starting
camera
to
right behind
deteriorate
you.
in the Air Academy.
We
And
saw
that
you.
Their effect on Miriam Deans was basically nothing. She did not intervene. She didn't get counseling.
You're still doing
she
it.
didn't follow any of the recommendations.
You're just under the
Tell me
camera
how
now.
You showed that this. I don't see Miriam Beans, and maybe she has a different email name and it's in here. But tell me how this email, you can show this email was sent to Miriam Beans.
I'm sorry, Judge, the specific, I was just talking about in general. There's some,
Well, but see, that's the problem. There's just a ton of documents
You need
here
some
in
conditioner.
3 different composite exhibits
Work
that
with those.
we can't generalize.
Work with those curls.
No. I'll give you an opportunity. The
so
defense's turn.
the emails that the court is referencing, I'm just looking to see, because the first ones are from Miriam Deans with regard to the child custody and whether Mr. Nachtman was allowed to be present. Specifically, the one from Miriam Deans, and I think it's page 1, 2, 3, 4, is basically her response to the father attempting to contact the family and get information. The other emails, and if you look at first few, I guess, are from Miriam about the custody situation. But these emails are counselors, and I guess I don't see the email directly to Miriam in this stack, but I think the evidence will show, again, in the totality of the documents that the experts reviewed, that in fact Miriam Deans did nothing in response to.
You can't even find the email.
that the school was voicing.
You know what? Listen, as a kid, as a parent,
Foundation. Who's going to look at this email if the author of it doesn't testify and say, yes, that document is a fair and accurate representation of the email that I sent?
First of all, it comes in as a business record. So
That's an exception to hearsay, but
Right.
that's not a foundation. That doesn't establish fair and accurate representation.
It doesn't, Judge, but we obtained all of the school records at the Air Academy, and our experts reviewed the entire file. And again, I could potentially have been asking the court to introduce, the Air Academy file is hundreds of pages, the family court file is 500 or so pages. We've selected the ones that our experts indicate to them are relevant to their opinion as to Nicole Nachtman's mental health deterioration, the bullying she was experiencing at school, and the lack of intervention. And the experts will characterize that as neglect on the part of Miriam Deans, because the evidence we believe will show that Nicole Nachtman never received any counseling, there was no interventions by the mom, and that's the purpose of the documents.
All right, well, and my ruling applies to all of them. I told you I'd let you be heard, but you don't need to. It's a foundation issue as I see it. And if you were, I'm ruling that they're not coming in, however, and unless someone else comes in and testifies. I use this one as an example because if the author of this was to come in and testify, then by all means, my ruling as to specific documents that the author could testify to as to the authenticity of it may change. But coming in under the experts, I reviewed it, is a floodgate that I don't intend to open, because if I was to accept that basis, then absolutely everything in every case that an expert relied on would then come into evidence and be presented to the jury. And I'm
Yep.
not aware of any authority for that. I've never seen that happen. So that's my ruling.
Because
To,
we don't intend to use them as a conduit for every single hearsay statement you're not allowing for the jury, but their overall impressions of court files, records,
Can say
psychological
I
evaluations
used
are absolutely
record,
proper items for them to rely
but they
on
don't need to
when
come in
they're-
as
no
evidence.
problem with that. No, absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were
They
saying they can't then talk about them either.
No.
Okay.
And I'm not at all saying, hearsay is not the issue. You may be absolutely right. If you could bring in or have an affidavit as to business records and get around a hearsay objection. But no, the experts can talk about them, that they relied on them, then they're going to be cross-examined about that. That's fine. But the documents coming in just because the expert relied on them is not,
Nope.
is a floodgate that I don't intend to open in this case.
Can I
That is
make these
correct.
Court exhibits for the appellate record.
See,
and I'll just
he
do
makes
court
it to where I
exhibit
can
one?
understand what the hell he's
Absolutely.
talking
Well,
about.
you want to put them all together or court
I'll
exhibit
do
1, 2,
court
and 3?
exhibit 1 for the Air Academy. Your ruling applies to the family court file and the DCF?
It does.
Okay, so I'll do the Air Academy
Yep.
as court exhibit 1. I'll do the family court file as court exhibit 2. And the DCF records as court exhibit 3, and that is all the 3 that you all objected to, correct?
Yes, and the only other thing that we need to rule on is the video evaluations of the defendant conducted by Dr. Lazaro.
That was my understanding. Mr. Terry was objecting to the whole thing, 15 hours. I've pulled out clips that my experts are gonna talk about and have relied upon, and I thought that he was okay with the clips.
Yeah, I'd like to see the particular
Okay,
clips, but
yeah.
as long as it's limited in
Yes,
scope and
it's
just.
gonna
be limited.
Yeah, that was my recollection too on that, the state was kind of backing off that as long as you, pared it down.
Yes, I have.
But
And I
definitely-
As long as I can see the clips as well, Judge, so I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Send them to them and then we can discuss it, but that should be a fairly brief discussion tomorrow. That should put us in a position though, where you're ready to call your last witness at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
I will be, Judge.
And then we'll break, before the cross-examination. I've read the cases that have been submitted by both sides, but I'm gonna take them home and I'm gonna read them again tonight, just so that I'm prepared in the morning.
Well,
See,
again,
this
if I
was-
could briefly be heard again, just to guide the court on what my position's gonna be, and I'm not in any way suggesting that we argue this. I still am requesting that after Joseph Carey's direct examination, we address all these issues. But my overall argument from the case law that I've provided the court, specifically the Martin case and the Spurgeon case, it's gonna be our position that any limit on our cross-examination of Joseph Carey, the absolute key witness in this case, is going to be prejudicial to Ms. Nachtman. That Ms. Nachtman's years of abuse and relationship with her mother doesn't just go to whether she's a battered child. I believe whether the experts can ultimately opine that, the court is going to rule on as to whether she is a battered child for purposes of self-defense. But she is accused of killing 2 parents. Her childhood and family history is absolutely relevant. To paint a picture to this jury that this was a happy family because she got a car and she got a college education is misleading. And so I want that to kind of be, I guess, the court's guide as far as the defense's argument goes, in that limiting the little picture of what this family was really like is not only misleading to the jury, but it's prejudicial to Ms. Nachtman. And we believe our experts will say that the years of treatment by her mother not only led her to be a battered child, but contributed significantly to her deterioration in mental health, which is absolutely relevant to insanity. So for our position, we don't think limits on the type of evidence that can be introduced is it should be what the court does. If you ultimately say we can't opine that she's actually a battered child, that's another story. But to limit the picture that this jury gets of this family would be absolutely prejudicial to Ms. Nachtman, and it's relevant to her mental health deterioration and ultimately the insanity opinions that both doctors will give.
Is there a deposition of the insanity expert?
There is, Judge, if you'd like a copy of it.
I mean, I'd like to get a feeling for what the insanity expert is going to say and what he relied on. Because that really, the one where I'm concerned is I so far don't have any evidence of self-defense, which is a lot of this stuff may come in if I'm ultimately convinced, however that may be.
And we believe that'll come in through the statement she makes to her brother, which will be tomorrow, which is why I've asked for a break in the direct.
Right.
Because at that point, I'm going to be arguing two things. One, my cross-examination shouldn't be limited for the reasons I just stated. But more importantly, we believe through our statement to Mr. Carey, her brother, that self-defense, however slight, is going to have been established at that point, therefore allowing everything else in.
Specifically what, if you don't mind, out of her statement to her brother? Is this the mom said, "What the F are you doing here"?
The confrontation in the driveway, he's going to use the word mom. She says, "Mom confronted me in the driveway." So I think the word confront has a serious connotation to it. And then, let me get to the quote. I'm just talking. I will read directly from Joseph Carey's interview with law enforcement.
Girl, put your big hair down. Sit down.
She tells
for
her brother
Christ's
that
sake.
she only gotten the good news about the dorms. Minutes
Their
before,
camera
she wouldn't have
angles.
had to do it. She tells her brother that she's had screaming in her head since London. Things were really bad when she got back from her visit to London. The pressure, the screaming, it was loud, it was uncontrollable. It was in her head nonstop, and she couldn't do anything about it. The screaming turned into nightmares, and she couldn't control nightmares and bad dreams.
And let me just be sure, the state is not contending that those statements don't come in, correct? I mean, they may already be in.
No, and I'm not sure if obviously, I don't know how he's going to testify tomorrow, what he'll remember, but I'm saying, yes, I'm not saying the statements that Nicole Nachtman made to him. We plan to elicit everything she said to him.
Ultimately, the argument is whether that gives rise to some evidence or any evidence of self-defense.
Well, there's more.
So that you get the battered
Self-defense,
child.
obstruction, battered child, correct. We believe all the screaming and all that comes in here regardless because of its insanity. Implications.
And
Irregardless.
we will talk about that.
She then said that she noticed that her mom was back. She saw the car, heard the car, and just knew she was there and got cold feet. She wanted to jump out of her window and run away without her mom seeing her. But she mistimed it and ran into her mom in the driveway, and my mom confronted me about being there and then said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Those are the statements we believe that are gonna be
And Judge,
elicited.
just so the court's aware, right after that, she tells her brother, and then I blacked out. I don't remember anything at that point. So confrontation can mean a lot of things, but what it means, Judge, when she says, "What the fuck are you doing here?" That's just a mom sees her and says that. And there's nothing else to show any sort of aggression, any sort of aggressive movements, any sort of coming at her, anything. And she specifically says, at that moment, I blacked out. I don't remember anything. So I've cited a case, Judge, that you'll see when you look through those cases.
So
Where
she
they said,
snapped.
because the defendant said he blacked out and doesn't remember anything, they could not use
No,
self-defense.
I've read your cases.
All right.
Judge, it with the court, if the state has no objection, I can give you Dr. Ewing's deposition
I
transcript.
have no objection, Judge.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, is there anything else?
No, sir.
Nope.
Nothing from the state, Judge.
All right, have a good evening. I'll see you at 9 a.m.
Isn't he great? He's a great judge. I love him. He is so. Ugh. See, I'm glad there was this little bit. That's really what I wanted. I want more of this from him. He explains things so well. I can understand them. He doesn't make me feel stupid. You know? I'm not a smart person. No. I just don't always get all the mumbo jumbo. But he explains thoroughly of what he's talking about normally. And he tells you exactly why he's not going to let something in or why he's going to let something in. And I like that. Sometimes he gets a little winded about why he's not going to do something. Normally, about why he's not going to do something. And that's for the record. So the record is clear. Okay, well, that's fun. Next is going to be the brother. Apparently, that's going to be spicy. So you should come for the next one. Okay? Because I'm here for it. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Well, that was fun. So they were fighting over some random shit. Letting things in and letting things out. I don't really know. I mean, so you got a little bit of a taste of what they're going for. They're still going for the insanity. So you got an idea. So they are going to put on a thing. So that's good. So, and they're going to have doctors testify to it. But so that's good. That'll be good. You get some expert opinions on the matter. So that'll be good. So I'm looking forward to that part. Maybe we should have just skipped to that part. Just threw all this stuff out. Probably. But anywho. Okay. Well, it's been real. It's been real fun. But we'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned. See ya.